My wife cheated on me because I never appreciated her. Used to think love was just consistent, not explosive, not wild, just there. Like coffee in the morning or your favorite chair after a long day. That's how I saw Emma. Emma was the quiet kind of love. The one that didn't demand, didn't beg, didn't storm out when I worked late or forgot a date. She would leave notes in my bag, reminders on the fridge, warm dinners on the stove, even when I didn't say thank you. She was always there. We met in the least romantic way possible, HR orientation. I remember rolling my eyes at her when she said she brought her own notebook. She remembered the way I scoffed at the free company coffee. Somehow, from that weird mutual disdain for our corporate lives, something started. 3 years later, we were married. 2 more and we moved into our first house, one she picked. I didn't even go to half the viewings. I just let her do it. She had better taste anyway. Maybe that's where it started. Me letting her do it. She planned our vacations, chose our furniture, bought birthday gifts for my mother, paid the bills even though I earned more. She'd offer, I'd let her. She'd ask if I wanted to go to her cousin's wedding. I'd say, you decide. She'd ask if I liked the new curtains. I'd grunt a yeah. I thought that was what stability was, what trust looked like. But what I didn't realize was, you can kill someone with silence, slowly. You can drown a woman in indifference and never see her choking. And Emma, she never screamed. She just started to disappear. And I didn't notice. Not at first. Not when she stopped texting me, drive safe. Not when she stopped asking me to join her friends. Not even when she stopped waiting up for me. Because in my head, she was always there. Until one night, I came home to a cold dinner and an even colder bed. And then, everything changed. It was a Thursday night when I felt it. Not something I could explain, just off. I came home later than usual. The office had this surprise all-hands meeting that turned into drinks, and then into hours of talking with some coworkers I barely liked. I didn't text Emma. I didn't think I needed to. The house was dark when I got back. Not just dark, quiet. No jazz playing from the kitchen. No laughter from whatever show she liked. No smell of lavender or cinnamon candles. Just silence. I went upstairs. The bedroom door was slightly open, the light from her bedside lamp glowing out into the hallway. She wasn't in bed. Her phone was charging on her nightstand. Mine buzzed in my pocket. A new notification. I checked it casually, then froze. It was from our shared cloud account. A synced iMessage backup. She never disabled it after I set it up last year. And what I saw, it wasn't a message meant for me. Can't wait to feel your arms around me again. Tonight was perfect. You smell like heaven. Don't worry. He never notices. He doesn't see me anymore. I stood there. My ears were ringing. My pulse was thumping in my neck. I looked around the room like someone had turned gravity sideways. Picked up her phone. It wasn't locked. She trusted me. Her recent messages? A contact saved as R. Just the letter. I tapped it. Photos. Messages. Voice notes. Long midnight texts. Emotional ones. Erotic ones. I didn't breathe. I didn't know how. For the first time in years, I really looked at the bed. Our bed, and I saw how cold it felt. How untouched her side was. How messy mine had become. How long had this been happening? Was it one night? A few? Or worse? Was it something deeper? I heard the front door open. Her keys in the bowl. Her soft footsteps. I put the phone back down like it burned me. Daniel? She called out from downstairs. You home? I swallowed. My mouth was dry. Yeah, I said. My voice didn't even sound like mine. Dinner's in the oven. I made your favorite. I stared at the screen one last time. He doesn't see me anymore. And she was right. I didn't. Not until just now. Dinner was lasagna. Emma's recipe, her mother's, actually. She only made it on birthdays or when she was trying to cheer me up, which made tonight even more confusing. She plated it like always with that little sprinkle of parsley she knew I liked. She poured wine. She smiled. And I sat across from her, fork in hand, pretending everything wasn't burning inside my head. How was work? she asked, casual, like we weren't sitting on a secret. Fine. Long day. Yeah. She nodded and took a sip of her wine. I figured you'd be late. I left yours in the oven to keep it warm. That should have meant something. The effort. The thoughtfulness. But now, everything looked different through the lens of that message. That wasn't lasagna. That was guilt served at 375 degrees. I watched her while she ate. Not in the way I used to, when I'd admire how she curled pasta around her fork or laughed mid-bite. This was different. I watched her like a stranger across the table. I noticed how she kept looking at her phone. Not obsessively, but often. Like she was waiting for something. Or someone. And I knew who. Everything okay? She asked. Yeah. You seem off. I smiled, that brittle kind of smile that doesn't reach your eyes. Just tired. She nodded again and looked down at her plate. She always believed me when I said I was fine. That was the problem. She'd learned to stop digging. And I'd taught her that. With every shrug, every nothing's wrong. Every time I made her feel like she was overthinking, I built this wall between us. Brick by quiet brick. And now, she was on the other side of it. Texting someone named or who made her feel seen. I wanted to scream, throw the plate, yell who the hell is R? Right there, wine-stained tablecloth and all. But I didn't. I just kept eating. Because part of me, a part one hated, was scared to hear the answer. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. Emma was next to me. Back turned, her breathing soft and even. I used to find peace in that sound. Now it just felt like I was lying beside a stranger. A beautiful, warm stranger I once called my wife. I thought back over the last few months. And suddenly, I saw them all. The signs. The new phone password she never used to have. The random work happy hours that started popping up out of nowhere. How she started sleeping with her phone under her pillow. That time she bought new lingerie and brushed it off as just something cute I saw on sale. The day she wore lipstick to the grocery store. She used to wear that lipstick for me. And what did I do? Nothing. I was always working. Always tired. Always too distracted. She'd ask how I was doing and I'd answer with emails and meetings. She'd lean in for a kiss. And I'd brush her off with, "Not now, babe." She'd ask if I wanted to join her for a walk. And I'd say, "Maybe tomorrow." But tomorrow never came. And someone else must have said yes. I looked at her in the dim light of the bedroom. Same gentle jawline. Same messy bun. Same freckles I used to trace with my fingers on lazy Sunday mornings. Only now I couldn't touch her. Not because she'd stop me, but because I couldn't. Not after knowing what I knew. The worst part? I didn't even feel angry. Not yet. I felt like someone had unplugged me. Like I was watching my life from behind glass. How do you scream when your throat is full of guilt? Because that's what this was, wasn't it? Guilt. For pushing her away. For forgetting to see her. For treating her like furniture in my own life. Reliable, silent, unnoticed. I rolled over. My hand hovered near her back. And I swear, for a second, I almost whispered, "I'm sorry." But I didn't. Because the moment I did that, I'd have to admit I might have lost her already. The next morning, Emma kissed me on the cheek like she always did. "Have a good day, babe," she said, grabbing her bag and keys. "Where are you headed?" I asked casually. She hesitated just for half a second. "Brunch with Jess and Lauren." "You remember Lauren?" I nodded. "Yeah. Say hi for me." She smiled and walked out. But it was the hesitation that told me everything. She'd always told little white lies. The kind couples used to smooth out the day. "I love that shirt." "No, you didn't snore." "That movie was great." That kind of lie I could handle. But this wasn't a lie of kindness. This was something else. I waited 5 minutes. Just enough time to make it believable. Then I grabbed my jacket and followed. I didn't know what I was looking for. Proof? Punishment? Maybe just a reason to believe my paranoia wasn't just a cruel imagination trick. I drove down to the cafe she usually mentioned when she talked about brunch with the girls. No sign of her car. I circled the block. Drove past 2 more places I knew she liked. Nothing. But then, I saw it. Her silver sedan, parked on the edge of a quiet little side street near the Riverwalk. And leaning on the passenger door was a man, mid-30s, black jacket, confident posture. She walked out of a shop holding 2 coffees, handed him one. He smiled, and then he kissed her. Not a hungry kiss, not sexual, something worse, intimate, familiar, like they'd done it 100 times before. I couldn't move. I just sat in my car and watched the life I thought I had, the woman I thought I still held, melt into something I didn't recognize. And the strange thing? I didn't feel shocked. I felt like I already knew, because I'd seen this moment 100 times. In the silences, in the forced smiles, in the empty space between us. Emma didn't lie to me that morning, because she didn't have to anymore. She knew I wouldn't ask. And she was right. I don't remember how long I sat there. 10 minutes? An hour? They walked along the path by the river, holding hands, sharing that coffee. Her head tilted toward him, laughing. The kind of laugh I hadn't heard from her in months. Not the polite one she gave me, but the one from deep in her belly. That laugh used to be mine. She wore that blue sweater I got her for her birthday 2 years ago. She used to call it her safe sweater. Now it was his. I studied him. Not tall, not flashy. Clean cut. The kind of guy you'd never suspect. Which made it worse. He wasn't better than me. He was just there. Present. Not buried in deadlines or performance reviews or late-night emails. She didn't need a millionaire. She just needed someone who noticed. Someone who remembered she hated olives and loved rainy Sundays. Someone who remembered the name of her childhood cat. Someone who saw the way her eyes lit up when she got excited about the stupidest things, like ceramic mugs or book fairs. And I used to be that man, until I stopped showing up, until I stopped seeing her, until she gave up waiting, and found someone who looked when I didn't. That thought hit harder than any punch ever could. She didn't cheat because she stopped loving me. She cheated because she thought I stopped loving her. And honestly, she might have been right. Not because I didn't love her. I did. I do. But because I forgot how to show it. I watched them disappear down the path, hand in hand, 2 silhouettes in a life I used to be part of. And I realized, I didn't just lose her. I gave her away, piece by quiet piece. That evening, I sat at the kitchen table. Lights off, the kind of darkness that makes everything feel heavier. Emma came home at 7:48 p.m. Not a minute earlier. Not a minute later. I heard her keys in the door. The quiet click of her heels. She paused when she saw me sitting there. "Hey," she said, voice cautious. "Why are the lights off?" I didn't answer right away. She stepped further in. "Everything okay?" I looked at her. Her hair was down now. Lips a little faded from lipstick. Same blue sweater. Same woman. But not the same woman I married. "Where were you today?" I asked, my voice low. She blinked. "Just once. Brunch. With Jess." "Which cafe?" She hesitated. "Emma." She didn't speak. Not yet. But I could see it. That flicker of panic behind her calm. I leaned forward. "I saw you." Her whole face changed. "What?" "I saw you by the river. With him." Her mouth opened. Closed. Then again. "Daniel, Don't lie to me," I said sharply. Came out harsher than I meant. Silence. And then, finally, she sat down across from me. Hands folded. Eyes glassy. "You weren't supposed to know," she whispered. That sentence gutted me more than anything. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "It was a mistake." Just, "You weren't supposed to know." I nodded slowly. "How long?" She stared at the table. "How long, Emma?" 3 months, she said. But it didn't start physically. Not at first. That somehow made it worse. "So it was emotional?" I asked. "Yes." I laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. "You fell in love with him?" Her eyes finally met mine. And she didn't deny it. She just looked sad. "I fell out of love with the silence," she said. And I felt like someone drove a nail through my chest. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was escaping me. After she said it, I fell out of love with the silence. The room went still. Not angry still. Dead still. I stared at her, wondering how many nights she sat across from me, waiting for me to see her, waiting for me to reach out, to ask, to care. And I gave her nothing but nods and half-smiles. How did it start? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted the answer. She sighed. Not the dramatic kind, the tired kind. The kind that says, finally. You're asking. He was just around, she said. He asked me how I was doing and meant it. He listened. He remembered the little things. I didn't plan for it to go anywhere. You could have told me you were unhappy. I did. So many times. Her voice cracked. You didn't hear me. That one hurt. But I knew it was true. She had told me in small ways, in subtle hints. In the nights she dressed up for dinner and I barely looked. In the way her hand would reach for mine during movies, and I'd pull away to check my phone. I let her drift. I didn't anchor her. I didn't fight for her. I assumed love was something that just stayed like wallpaper, not something you have to tend to. Did you sleep with him? I asked, the question acid in my throat. She didn't answer. That was enough. I nodded again. Slow. Numb. You should go, I said. She froze. Daniel. No shouting. No drama. I'm not going to beg you to stay, Emma. But I also can't be the man you come home to after spending the day in someone else's arms. Tears welled up in her eyes. I didn't mean to fall out of love with us, she whispered. I stood up. Neither did I. She packed a small bag that night. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. Didn't say, I'll be back. Just moved, like a ghost brushing past furniture. I watched her from the kitchen, arms crossed, feeling everything and nothing at once. I think part of her expected me to stop her, to say, let's talk this through, or don't go. But I didn't, because if I had to ask someone to stay, then they'd already left. When the door finally shut behind her, the house felt bigger. Not in a good way, in that hollow, echoing kind of way. Her side of the closet was still full, her toothbrush still in the holder, her coat still on the hook. But she was gone, and for the first time in years, I walked through my own house and felt like a stranger. I sat on the edge of the bed. My side, the other pillow was untouched. Always had been. I'd gotten so used to falling asleep without her curled into me that I didn't even realize it stopped. How do you lose someone who sleeps next to you every night? Answer. You stop looking at them. And now, couldn't stop. Every room smelled like her. Every song reminded me of a moment. Every silence screamed louder than ever. I thought about texting her. I didn't. She was probably with him. And no matter how many years we had, he was the one who made her feel alive again. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, asking myself the one question I had avoided for too long. When did I stop being the man she fell in love with? The next few days passed in a haze. I went to work. I answered emails. I nodded through meetings. No one noticed anything different, because honestly, nothing ever showed on my face. That was part of the problem. Back home, the house stayed quiet. Her coat was still on the hook. Still, I couldn't bring myself to move it. I found one of her mugs in the dishwasher. The blue one with the chipped handle. The one she refused to throw out because I gave it to her on our first trip to Seattle. I stared at it for maybe 10 minutes. I didn't cry. I just sat there, holding it, wondering how many moments I'd wasted being too busy, how many kisses I skipped, how many times she needed a partner and I gave her silence. I kept thinking, if I could go back, what would I say? I wouldn't say, I love you. I said that. It wasn't the words. It was the way I said them, distracted, routine, like punctuation. If I could go back, I'd say this. Emma, I see you. I see the way you try. I see the effort. I see the quiet way you take care of both of us. I see the hurt you don't speak about. I see the loneliness in your eyes when I look past you instead of into you. And I'm sorry I've made you feel invisible. But I never said any of that. I just assumed she'd always be there. Until she wasn't. And now, I talked to shadows, memorized echoes, answered to ghosts. Around day 5, I started wondering, what if she came back? What would I say? What could I say? Not, I miss you. She knew that. Not, I'll change. Because that promise feels cheap when it only shows up after someone's already left. But still, I imagined it. I imagined hearing her key in the door, the quiet sound of her shoes in the hallway, that long pause before she'd whisper, Daniel? And what would I do? Would I run to her? Would I fall to my knees like some cliché? No, I think I'd just look at her, really look at her, for the first time in years. And maybe I'd say, I understand now. I understand why you drifted. I understand what you needed from me. Not flowers or dates or grand gestures, just attention, just presence, just to be seen. And I'm sorry I didn't see you. I saw the bills. I saw the deadlines. I saw the calendar. But I didn't see you. And by the time I looked up, you were already walking towards someone else. But none of that ever happened. The door stayed closed. Her side of the bed stayed empty. And I stayed haunted by the words I should have said while she was still mine. It happened on a Thursday, exactly a week since she left. I was leaving the pharmacy holding a bag of cold meds and cough drops when I saw him, the man from the Riverwalk, the one who kissed my wife like she belonged to him. He was standing by a bike rack, unlocking his e-scooter of all things. You'd think the guy who steals your wife would be taller, stronger, smug. He wasn't. He looked regular, soft around the edges, decent clothes, calm eyes, and he noticed me. I know he did. His gaze flicked toward me, then dropped, fast, like a man who knew exactly who I was. I don't know what came over me. I walked toward him. Hey, I said, voice low. He froze, slowly turned. Yeah, I held up my hands. Don't worry, I'm not here to fight. He swallowed. You're her? Yeah, I nodded. Husband. Or was. He didn't look surprised, just guilty. I didn't know she was married, he said quickly. Not at first. And when you found out? I asked. He looked down. I convinced myself it didn't matter. I stared at him, and all the things I wanted to say caught in my throat. You ruined my life. You stole my wife. You kissed her with the lips I used to dream about. But I didn't say any of it. Because the truth hit me again, hard. He didn't take her. I lost her. All he did was show up when I didn't. So instead I said this. She used to laugh like that with me, too. He didn't answer. I turned to leave. And as I walked away, he called out. She still talks about you. Every day. I didn't stop. I didn't want to know what she said. Because whether it was guilt, regret, or longing, none of it changed the fact that I was alone. It's a strange kind of torture. Wondering if you'd forgive someone if they came back, even when they haven't. That question kept circling me like a vulture. Would I take her back? Would I hold her and pretend none of this happened? Would I demand that she bleed for my forgiveness? Or would I do something harder? Something quieter? Would I look her in the eyes and say, I still love you, but we're already too far from shore? Because that's what this felt like. Like two people adrift on separate pieces of driftwood. Close enough to shout, too far to swim. The betrayal wasn't just the kiss, the messages, the lies. The real betrayal was the moment she gave up on me and chose to love someone else in secret instead of fighting for us in the open. She abandoned me emotionally long before she ever touched him. And maybe I abandoned her, too, in my own way, with every unread text, every missed dinner, every blank stare when she was trying to connect. So if she came back, would I take her back? No, I'd listen. I'd mourn. But I wouldn't rebuild a house that both of us let rot. Because love isn't just about who makes your heart race. It's about who stays in the fire with you when things fall apart. And neither of us did. 3 weeks. That's how long it had been since I last saw her. No calls. No texts. Just silence. Until one night around 11 p.m. I opened my laptop and checked an old shared folder we used to use for grocery lists and vacation ideas. And there it was. A voice memo. Just titled, For me, not you. I hesitated. Clicked play. Her voice crackled through the speakers. Tired, unsure, but real. I'm not sending this to you. I just Needed to say it. Somewhere. I keep thinking about the first time you made me laugh. That stupid pun about the elevator being uplifting. God, I thought you were so corny. But you made me feel safe. And I hate that I stopped telling you things. I hate that I looked for attention somewhere else. But I also hate how long I waited for you to notice I was drowning. Do you even remember the night I cried in the car? And you didn't ask why? Or how I used to fall asleep early, just so I didn't have to feel alone next to you? You didn't hit me. You didn't cheat. You didn't yell. You just stopped showing up. And I did something unforgivable. I stopped waiting. The man I'm with now, he listens. But he's not you. And maybe that's the worst part. I don't know what I want anymore. I just know I miss being yours before we broke without noticing. The audio ended. And I just sat there. Not angry. Not broken. Just emptied out. She didn't send it to me. But she didn't have to. Because that recording wasn't her trying to get me back. It was a confession. And maybe, just maybe, it was her way of saying goodbye. It's been 2 months since she left. Since we ended. I haven't seen her. Haven't spoken to her. I never replied to the voice memo. I thought closure would come with a dramatic moment. A final fight. A sudden apology. A tearful reunion. But real closure? Comes quietly. Comes when you fold the last shirt that still smells like her and pack it in a box. When you walk past the bakery she loved and don't pause at the door. When you no longer flinch at her name. Comes when you finally look in the mirror and see a man you respect again. I started running. I stopped working weekends. I've started calling my mom again. I've started living again. Not because I'm over her, but because I finally realized the real tragedy wasn't that she left. It was that I lost myself long before she walked away. Emma made her choices. And so did I. But pain isn't the end. It's the beginning of a harder version of you, a humbler version, a version who knows that love can't survive on autopilot, that attention is affection, that silence is violence when it becomes routine. Would I do it all again? Yes. Even the heartbreak. Because I became the man I should have been years ago. Just too late for her to see it. But not too late for me to finally be seen.